Hello class, this is a demonstration of inner joins in Tableau. We're going to do this twice. First, looking at our crash data and some community demographic data. These are two different CSV files. What we're going to end up with is a scatter plot of walk scores for different community statistical areas and the count of crashes. The end result you can see here is there's not a lot of correlation actually between walkability and the number of crashes. We can do a few different analyses later and kind of get a little more nuance into this. The second thing we'll be doing as a demonstration is a map, and we can look at a color-coded map of walk scores. So let's jump right into it. So first I'm going to make a new version of each of these. Minimize the old ones. These are large files, so sometimes it takes a little time to load. And so we're going to first pull in that text file. The order doesn't really matter, but I tend to choose kind of more of my basic stuff first. So I'm going to put in my CSA variables first. Loads in. You can see that here. Part of what you can see is a little preview of the data. We have our FID, which was the variable we're going to join across, the names of the neighborhoods, and some of this demographic information, the violent crime proportions, property crime, race, all that stuff we've talked about in class. Notice a few things here, that there's this box here for CSA vars. It's also located here. And we want to add in and join this with the crash data. You can see it here because I've used this stuff before, but yours might not look like this. If you don't see the crash data we want here, you can add that. Click on that blue add button, go to text file, and go to crashes CSA 2020. Open it. It's a big file. It'll take a second. Now here's a little trickiness. Pay attention carefully. I could try to go and pull this here, this one here, and it'll make this noodle, and it'll build what's called a relationship, which is a weaker version of a join. We don't actually want that. To kind of do something a bit more significant, double click on this. It'll kind of open up that variable, and now drag this over, and it'll take a second because it's a big file, it's processing, and it'll create this join relationship. This symbol is an inner join. You can actually double click on this and change the join and look into it a little bit. We're not going to talk about these different types of joins. You can also see that it automatically identified FID as the variable we're going to join across, because that's a common variable name across both these data sets. But that's it. That's your join. Let's do something with it now. Let's go to sheet 1. And again, we want to look at make a scatter plot here. Notice how it organizes the data. We have some dimensions and attributes, and they're kind of split up. So we have one section for crashes and CSAs by attributes, and another crashes and CSAs by dimensions. So let's just take our community variable. I'm going to drag it to columns. And this is what we're going to do to make our crashes, our crash counts by neighborhood here, or community. And we get something that looks like this, and we don't actually want that. What we want is to look at counts. And we get a nice bar chart here. And look at all the different neighborhoods and see which ones have more crashes. Downtown, as we talked about before, lots of crashes, and some of the smaller ones, not so much. Okay, so this is good in and of itself, but we want to actually look at this and also see walk scores. So now I'm going to take walk scores and drag it over here. And it's going to look a little weird. And we're going to change this to dimension. And oh, excuse me, I did this wrong. I'm going to drag walk scores down here, and it looks a little weird. Let's start over. Okay, that's just what I wanted to do. We're gonna drag to rows, and it actually creates something kind of interesting in and of itself. You can see the two bar charts stacked on top of each other. You can see how similar they are, that higher walk scores sort of correspond with higher numbers of crashes. A little weird, but that's partly because this is the wrong thing. So let's actually change. It's summing up all the walk scores for every crash. We don't want to do that. Switch this to a dimension and it'll look weird. Excuse me, switch this to an attribute. It'll look less weird. I'm gonna switch this to an average actually. And now we can click on this and it'll create this scatter plot. As you can see, you kind of have to play with these things a little bit to get it to do what you want sometimes. I'm going to do a little extra step here and take race class and color code it. And you can see that here. So that's the first one. And you can see our color coded scatter plot. You can see there's not a lot of correlation. We can add a trend line if we wanted to. You can see the different trend lines by different kind of communities. Kind of interesting. But let's do the next one. This one's a little quicker. Minimize this, make the window good size. So we're going to start fresh. We're going to add in our spatial file first. There it is. Open this up. Okay, I'm going to add in that other file, that other text file, CSA vars. Double click on this, drag this here. It'll take a second. It creates that join. This is a smaller file, it's a little quicker. You can bring this over, and now I can do, as we always do, it's all joined up. Oh, again, I could double click on this and kind of see the nature of the join. Again, see that it's joined along FID just like the last time. It's always nice with files like this to have unique ID numbers so we can do those joins and kind of know what we're getting. But now we can, now that we've done the join, we can drag geometry, bring that in there. And then let's take our walk score and try to color code it. Notice it doesn't work. It sums up all the walk scores. This is the same thing that I got a little confused about in the last join we did. But let's change this from sum to an attribute actually. Dimension. There you go. A dimension. Play with it a little bit. That's the moral here. So now we have our nice color-coded map, otherwise known as a choropleth. That's it. That's the entire lesson for today in about 8 minutes and 17 seconds. Very quickly. As usual, please watch this in slow motion, pause everything, and you know where I am if you need any other questions. Take care, class.